Welcome to the Coalcast. Today you are being hosted by one sole person, and that's me, Nathan Brandt. I'm the co-founder of Coal Iron Works, and we're gonna have some time together today. It's gonna be really nice. So we're gonna get started with some announcements. So the first announcement is that I'm by myself because Francis bailed. He left the state. He's currently in California. Wouldn't that be nice? It's cold here. In California, it's not cold, and that's where Francis is. So he is at the CBA conference, which is a wonderful conference in California, and that's where Francis is. So today, we're going to talk about all kinds of things. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to read some things. We're going to learn. We're going to grow together. So come along. Now, next week, first announcement, Francis will be back. He'll be back from CBA. We'll get an update on how the event went, what they did. Last year was just a who's who of the blacksmithing world on the West Coast. So I'm super excited to see what he's going to bring back. Secondly, April 26th is the Bob Rankin Hammer-In. And if you want to attend, you've got to ask Bob if you can come over. You've got to ask your mom and then call Bob. Can I come over? Can I stay? Because if there's too many people, he's going to have to tell you no for other reasons. And lastly, we have Monsieur the Indomitable Brett Onick, May 3rd. Now, he's doing an Intro to the Forged Blade class. So this would be a great class if you have a little bit of time banging on hot steel, but you really want some instruction. What are the next steps to making a forged knife, start to finish? Simple forged blade with Brett Onick, the mastermind. That's May 3rd, and we're almost sold out on spots. So if you want to come and spend those hours with Mr. Onick, he is the man, the myth, the legend. The word that came to mind this morning when I was just contemplating, who Brett is to me. Indomitable was the word. He's undefeatable. He's a constant. The world is constantly changing, but Brett, he stays the same. So, moving on. We have a news segment today, and I'm going to hop on my old patooter here, and we're going to allow ourselves to be asked some questions from the internet, and specifically a Reddit. So, first question by Be Having Strange. I have multiple questions. I have decided to blacksmithing, but all my experience is watching Forged in Fire. I want to make knife, axe and hatchet, wrought iron, sword tool. I do HVAC and restaurant equipment repair. Calm down. I build my own equipment like smoker, fryer, grill gas wood smoke, rotisserie. I know electronic control wiring very well. I can stig McTig weld, fabricate stuff lot for work. I don't want to spend $3,000 over, starting in case don't enjoy it. So here are my questions. What brand of anvil? What forge? Temper oven? Tool where to buy? Grinder? Hammer? Hydraulic press? Anything else? Now, there were many answers to these questions, but I'd like to just skip over those and answer these questions myself. So, first off, if you're getting started and you don't know where to, anvil? There's lots of great anvils. My favorite anvils are old anvils, but it's not because they're better. The best anvil that is currently in production in America is Holland Anvils. Greg Hagen in Holland, Michigan makes the best anvil It is solid cast H13. That is the tippity top, the best material that I could fathom. It is tough. It is hard. You can get it hot and it won't care. It's like your uncle that lives in Texas, and he comes up here and it's 113 and you're dying in your little inflatable pool in the backyard, and he scoffs at you because 113, he eats that for breakfast. That's nothing. In Texas, it's hotter and he's fine. That would be my suggestion. My first anvil was a rock. I found a large rock and I put it on a stump and I used a claw hammer. Don't be afraid to try. I've used railroad track. It's fine. I've used a sledgehammer embedded in concrete. I've done all that stuff. My favorite anvil that I am using right now is my home anvil, which is a Soho pattern. And I don't know what that means, but all the Sohos that I've seen have 2 Hardys, and I love that. Now, mine is about 600 pounds because, I've been doing this a while. You find them. Before that, probably my favorite anvil was Soho pattern. Look at these, just beautiful. The shelf doesn't exist. It's just part of the face. I like them because they have maybe it's just the big ones. They have really large Hardys. I had a 350-pound Fisher that had like 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches Hardy. I like big Hardys, because I do a lot of punching and drifting. And so most of my drifts will fit into the Hardy, which makes it kind of like a swage block. But then when you're securing a large, let's say a drift bolster, and you need to onto the anvil, you can put just a monster Hardy shank. Yeah. So don't be afraid. I've had Vulcan anvils. I had an early Wilkinson anvil that the heel had broken off of. It didn't matter. That was had a super thick, Wilkinson is a forged, I believe would be considered a mouse hole, but it's a forged anvil built up under a steam hammer with lots of parts. I've seen guys turn them over and you'll see like a piece of barbed wire or something like that didn't get fully pushed into the block. But so they weld those together, and then they weld on a very thick tool steel plate on the top. That was a fantastic rebound anvil, and I paid $26 for it. So where to buy? I bought that one at a flea market. My dad's shop was throwing away some old tools and gave him a 100-pound Vulcan. That was my first anvil. I referenced that in one of our past conversations. So, there's lots of ways to do it. A big block of steel is fine. I love the Brazil style striking anvils, and those are just mild steel. So don't be afraid to try something fun and find something found. The more mass, the merrier. But hardenable steel is great. It's not the end of the world. And I grew up watching YouTube of guys in third world countries using blocks of stuff in concrete. They'll be working out of a pit, and a good craftsman will never blame his tools. You can learn how to use whatever you can source. Rock would definitely be at the lower end of my suggestion, but I've done it and it does workish. Moving on to forge, propane, coal, or electric. Wow, what a plethora of options you have in 2025. We've got induction forges readily available. If you're budget conscious and you don't care if it works right out of the box, you can get an induction forge for very little money off of the internet, eBay, Amazon, scrounge together something. But if you are wanting to buy a one and done plug and play deal, we sell induction forges 15 and 25 kilowatt. You can also call us and you can say, hey, I need a 25 kilowatt that is specially designed for melting steel. This is what Monsieur Onique that we talked about previously, the indomitable Brett Onick, undefeatable, unsurmountable. That's what he uses for his smelts. We sell a special, we only hold a couple of them, but we hold a special model that is built for smelting, crucibles, larger work. And it is also the only model of 25 kilowatt that is usable with a wand. The wands on our standard 25 kilowatt push the inductance in the coil up too high and cause all kinds of problems. So no wands on 25 kilowatts unless you call us, specifically Francis, and you say, Francis, I need a 25 kilowatt 15.2. I'm going to be smelting. I want a wand. And then you can get that. But when you're starting, my first forge was a pile of wood. I'd burn the wood down. I'd blow into the coals, and I would use that to heat my fire or heat my metal up. So, again, it's like when you're this early in it, you need to start really, really simply and figure out what's going to work for you. What do you have available? Is this something I really want to do? I would go to Walmart and buy bags of charcoal, not charcoal briquettes. I would buy hardwood charcoal. It's just chunks of charcoal. Now, one of the downsides of charcoal, it is readily available. It is unbelievably expensive, but it will burn you. There's these big psh, 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 that just randomly pop when you're blowing or forcing air into charcoal. So hardwood lump charcoal, $15. Producer Evan, can you believe that?
Unfortunately.
$15. Do you see how many pounds that is?
It is not even, well, I guess it is 15
It's basically $1 a pound.
Yeah, that's not
That's
worth
an anvil. A very cheap anvil, but an anvil. So soon after, a local blacksmith in Ohio had done a class where they all built propane forges, and I ended up with one of their little half-finished propane forges. And again, I didn't have internet. I didn't have access to all that information. So my grandpa, shout out to the best grandpa in the world. My grandpa was the best. He helped me figure it out. We realized we were trying to use too low of a pressure regulator on it, so we had to buy a high pressure regulator to force enough air because it was a Venturi burner. If you want to know more about that, shoot us a message. I'd love to answer your questions, or ask the question on Reddit a couple years ago, and I'll probably find it in this new segment we're doing. Tempering oven, don't worry about it. Just don't. You can use your oven, but when you're learning, you're probably going to be using a lot of found steel, and just focus on forging. Yeah, you can make stuff, make a knife, and don't harden it. I'm just going to blow up Reddit right now. Don't harden it. Just get used to how the metal moves. When I'm starting a new project, I'm doing some prototypes for a contract. I'm going to forge 50 of this thing that I'm trying to figure out how to make. I'm going to make 50 of them. At least, because I'm looking at the process, how the metal's moving, where I need to put metal, all that kind of stuff. So when you're getting started like this, really focus on forging, on hitting the metal where, getting the material where you want it to go or where you think it should go. When you're doing heat treating, do the old tried and true. No, it's not super exact, but use a magnet to check that you've lost magnetism. So if I was going to heat treat this, I'd be holding it with tongs because it would be hot. I'll have a magnet on a stick. I'll pull it out of the fire. Still magnetic. It's not magnetic anymore. Quench. Psh, okay. Gets you in the ballpark. And then when you need to temper it, you can hold it over your charcoal, sand a little spot on it, to have a file, hit it for a second, and just look for some color to start to show up. You'll see a yellow and then a blue. Don't complicate it. There is so much information available online that when you have a problem, then you can do that deep dive. But just kind of play with it a little bit and say, hey, I forged this knife and I heat treated it. I got it to non-magnetic and I quenched it in canola oil, and that got it really hard and it didn't crack. Or maybe it does crack, or maybe you quench it in water and it shatters. Oh, I'll try canola oil next. So water, canola oil, until you start coming up against problems like that, you don't even know what questions to ask yet. So those are some simple ways to get started. You can totally temper in your home oven for most steels. H13 is 1,000 degrees. You're not going to do that in your oven, but it's very unlikely that H13 is going to be the first material you forge. If it is, stop it. Go find something not H13. Where do I buy tools? Golly, there are some incredible makers, and I wish for nothing more than there just being an incredible plethora of incredible blacksmiths making incredible tools. That would be an indomitable situation, unbeatable. It would be great. So, Fiery Furnace Forge, Dave Custer, I believe he's in Kentucky. Andrew Larson. Isn't Andrew Larson also in Kentucky?
Yeah.
Is everyone just in Kentucky?
Yes.
I think there's Blacksmith Depot, Blacksmith Tools, Blacksmith stuff. Just Google blacksmith tools. If you're looking for tongs, Triple F has been a wonderful supplier. Andrew Larson has been a wonderful supplier. And the reality is, don't go buy all your tongs from somebody. You need to buy one pair from 3 or 4 different makers and see. They each have their own little intricacies. Some of them round their handles. Some of them leave them square. Some of them lightly break the corners. Some of them do have a swage and make a really complicated rounded T shape so that it's, really, really strong. So you need to figure out what you like. And the best way to do that is taste test. Try a bunch of different makers and see what you like. And the other thing is, if you're looking for, hey, what projects should I do? I've got this bar of rebar. Go forge a pair of tongs. They're going to be very bad. But until you make 50, you're not going to know what you're doing. You can only watch so many videos until you get the gist. You got to go make the stuff. So your body needs the muscle memory of swinging a hammer against hot steel and what it feels like and how far the metal moves and which part of the anvil you're going to use or which part of the rock you're going to use. And so I would say that's a great place. When you're talking drifts, Holland Anvil makes fantastic axe, and I believe they do hammer drifts, but I know they do axe drifts. I've got 50 of them sitting right here in front of me. So that's a great option. Hammer drifts. So those are great. Drifts are very easy. My favorite way to make drifts is to cheat and use Fusion 360 and CAD model it. But back in the day, what I would do is I would get a hammer handle that I really like that I know I can get more of, which I use house handles. They're fantastic. We sell handles that are matched to the drifts that we sell. Of course, I'm going to always say that that's a great option. But when you're getting started, it's not worth the money now. You're just trying to figure out if this is something that you're going to do. So get some round stock that is a little bit smaller in one dimension, right? So your hammer, here's a good one. So I needed to make this shape. Now, when I'm figuring out how to make my drifts, I put my wedge. Put your wedge in, because you want your drift to be ever so slightly smaller than your wedged eye. So I'm going to take this material. I took measurements and I figured out how much material I would need, and I realized that if I took a bar of 1.25, so 1 1/4 inch round, and flattened it to 800 and 700, so that 0.8, 0.7, it would be the right length. So you can get drifts done really easy. A press makes it super easy, but a press with a DPC is like next level, because I was able to squash that to 0.8 and then on the fullering die 0.7 and pull so you get your, that's a nice way to do that. Grinders. Guys, grinders are crazy. Grinders be crazy. There are so many options in the market. For a moment, we thought about making grinders, but it's like there are so many. What's the phrase, producer Evan? There's already enough girls dancing or something like that, where it's like, I'm not going to muddy this up. It's a Benton quote. Benton Frise.
Oh, man.
Do you know that Brenton drives a freaking Bronco? What a guy.
Brand new Brenton Bronco.
Brand new Brenton Bronco. That's a tongue twister. Brand new Brenton Bronco. There are so many grinders that are available. The problem is, if you need to spend $40 for a pair of tongs, you can taste test. Buy a pair a month, right? Grinders are expensive. So here's my hack. I'm going to lay it all out here, guys. Industrial surplus grinders are plentiful and they are cheap. And when you're getting started, you can get a Kalamazoo 1x42 for $5 if you go to an industrial auction. No, it is not the best grinder in the world, but I use one. I've got 7 of them sitting out on a pallet out here. If we need a grinder in a station, I grab one and I put it in the station. The biggest factor if you're going to buy a secondhand grinder is before you even think about it, make sure that the belt size is a commonly available belt size. If you're going to buy a belt grinder, same thing for a stone. Can you buy the belts? Are they readily available? Most abrasive manufacturers or abrasive suppliers are going to be willing to make you custom belts, but they're custom. And so they're 2, 3, 4 times the cost. And so you need to know that that grinder is going to work in your application. But man, I have been able to pick up some Bader Space Savers for pennies on the dollars. These are big industrial machines. They've got good bearings. They've got good motors. They've got good everything. And the belt size is 2 or 3 by 132. So you've got a massive belt. And I know this sounds like overkill for a small hobbyist shop, and it is. But don't be afraid to look around. Now, the other side of that is you've got Ameribraid, Broadbeck, and 99 other variations. Grizzly, who we distribute our 12 tons through, they sell all variations of grinders. And if you're looking at a grinder and it's 3-phase, that's not the end of the world, because up to about 5 horsepower, you can get a very economical, cheap Amazon VFD. Yes, there are better VFDs, but that will allow you to plug it into single phase. You can control the speed. VFD stands for variable frequency drive. It allows you to control that 3-phase motor with all of the parameters available. So I've got a Grizzly 3x79 here in the shop that I put a cheap, I think $120 Amazon VFD on, and it has just turned it into the perfect finishing tool, because I can put a Scotch-Brite belt on that, which Scotch-Brite belts are cheating. They're honestly cheating. I know some people that make incredibly exquisite world.
You can say his name.
Work.
Call him out.
I would never
call him out.
I would never call him out. And almost all of his finishing is done with Scotch-Brite, because the finishing prowess of a Scotch-Brite belt is just unmatched. Okay, so what is the big deal with the grinders? You do need a good grinder. When I started, I had an angle grinder. And guys, an angle grinder with a flap wheel will get you so far for so little money. Put the work in the vise. I mean, what's his name? Niels Ogren. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. On YouTube, makes some of the most beautiful axes in the world, and almost all of his finishing is with an angle grinder. So do not be afraid. Start with an angle grinder. Not only does it give you a cutoff wheel where you can cut your material to size without a bandsaw, then you can throw a flap wheel, or you can buy 2 angle grinders and leave them however you want to do it.
He does this with an angle grinder?
Yes. This dude.
Whoa.
is so excellent. And he just looks like somebody that I would like to spend time with. Yes.
Oh my.
Gorgeous. The guy is
The axe is good looking too.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this up then. So angle grinder. Look at the options that are available. We use Ameribraid in the school. Wilmont. We have a Wilmont. It's fantastic. The problem is I can't even keep track of who's building what at this point. Who's on top? I don't know. So Ameribraid, if you're going to go buy a $3,000 2x72 grinder, I would suggest Ameribraid, but I wouldn't suggest you go do that until you have worn out 1, 2, or 3 angle grinders finishing your work, because they are really, really capable. Brandt Bailey even has a fantastic video of making his own handles with an angle grinder and a flap wheel on a little plastic folding table. I mean, keep it simple, guys. The process can scale. And when you're ready to make more or higher end, etc., or you just need to make them faster, then you know what questions to ask. But that's the big caveat when you're getting started. You don't know what you're doing yet. And so you don't know what you need. And the only way you're going to find out is by using the cheap available stuff at the beginning and learning what you need as you go. Next up, power hammer.
Real quick, this is what I started off with. Harbor Freight. $60.
$60.
I think it was 40 when I bought it.
So that's very similar to the Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
It's a motor with a belt on it.
And a switch.
And a
Turn
switch.
it on or off.
And I still use something like that in my axe finishing to open up the kerf and to help me tune the handle. And I just literally, it's right next to my handling station. It's clamped to the table. I switch it on, switch it off, and it's perfect for that. And so if I had bought something like that when I was getting started, what that tells me is I would still be using it. It just wouldn't be my workhorse anymore. Yeah. So, so many options available. Just go look around and find something that fits your budget. If you're going to go old, I like the big old stuff because I know how well built they are. I know that they were made for continuous duty. But I am a very Evan laughed at duty. I'm at a point in my life where I can afford to do that, but I can find Baders, Hammonds, these big industrial grinders, and I have forklifts and I can repair the motors if they're bad and etc. That's, I'm a specific case. I love my Bader. I have 2 in my home shop and I love it. I am literally, as we speak, trying to wrap up a deal for 5 more Baders. And the reason why, there was a plant closure and they're $200. This is what I'm saying, guys. Now, the belts are about $40 a piece. Come on. You can't touch that. Anyway, moving on to power hammers.
Sorry, one more. I got one more. I was still looking at Niels's page. What is this?
So he cut those, and then he dovetailed a Damascus bit into it.
Oh, no way.
Come on.
Where's that at?
Come on. Keep up. No one can.
Where's that?
Niels. I feel bad that I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong.
We'll have him correct you.
That would be so sick.
With a vicious intent. I can't find it. I'm very sad that I can't find it.
I think he's probably a sweet guy.
Probably.
Go up.
Yep.
Oh, go down.
Oh, yeah.
God, this is like trying to get my toddler. Go over.
Over?
Yeah, that one.
That one.
I think that's the one.
He's certainly cutting out.
Okay. Well, go check out his, not you, producer Evan, but the rest of the world, go check out his YouTube channel. It's very good.
It's just another tease.
It's very good.
Oh.
Moving on to power hammers. You don't need one. Not when you're getting started. Not when you're looking at using a rock for your anvil. Don't worry about that yet. When it's time, you will have a plethora of options available. And just like grinders, you can find affordable options in the used market. We had a 25-pound Little Giant that had literally it had tapering dies in it, and it made tapers every day of its life, 10 hours a day for 50 years. The thing was absolutely clapped out, but if you needed to make a taper, you couldn't do it faster than that machine. Power hammers are so specific to what you're going to be forging. You know, you can see all of the videos on the interwebs of all the different things that are being made under power hammers. My favorite is seeing guys in like Pakistan and third world countries using big self-contained hammers. It seems so reminiscent of when we were a industrial powerhouse turn of the century. You know, their shops looked like our shops, except, you know, guys were wearing vests and boots. So I would say don't worry about that yet. When it's time, you'll know what questions to ask. But I will throw out there that I was on a call with Bob Bergman, the owner of Postville. He just sold Postville Blacksmith Shop, but he was the producer of the KA75 for the last 30 years. I just had a wonderful conversation with him this week, and one of the things that we both agreed on was the KA75 is the most similar machine I have ever used to having someone standing there with a 50-pound sledgehammer. It's a 75-pound sledgehammer. So, you know, using top tooling, reproducing the whole arrangement of working on a tool. And funny enough, today is April 9th, is the launch day for the K75s. This will be produced after. They might, you know, they're going to be available. They're available. Go look at them. That might be a great solution for your small home shop. Very small footprint machine, huge capability machine. But when you're transitioning from handwork into machine work, it is the most transitory of any of the machines I've ever used, because you can kind of step right in. You can use a lot of the tools you already have. Hydraulic press. I'm not going to be biased, okay? I have used everyone's hydraulic presses. I have used all of the hydraulic presses that are available and some that aren't available anymore. We have designed the Cole Iron Works hydraulic forging press with the small shop in mind. We offer everything from a 12-ton to a 120-ton, though the 120 tons are sold out. It will be a very long time until we are producing those ourselves. We bought ex-industrial machines, refinished them, etc. We have two tools on our website that I'd like to introduce you to, the H-frame and C-frame press builder. And this gives you the ability to go in and set all the parameters of your machine, and you can base it around your budget at the time. You can design it so that you buy a cheaper power pack but a more expensive frame. And then as time goes on and you want to upgrade the speed of your machine, you can at a later date buy just the power pack and upgrade that machine, or buy just the DPC and upgrade that machine. So we are in the hot seat. We are trying to produce a product that is as versatile as possible, because I know from firsthand experience that you need to be able to grow with your machinery over time. And so we wanted to create an option. I have an Anyang press in my home shop. Gasp. I know. We got it in on a trade. Because we wanted to figure out if we could install DPCs on Anyangs, and you can, and it completely revolutionizes that machine. Any press that uses set points where you have to adjust and mingle with it, I'm not a fan of that. I have seen some very sketchy things happen on presses like that, where people are adjusting the set points while they're forging, so they're watching the forging and playing with the no bueno. And they also fail. So the little little thingies, the switches. So my suggestion is look around, see what's available. Yes, you can convert a log splitter. It is very, very possible. If you are a good fabricator, I would expect that you would have the tools necessary to do so. So there's lots of options. Obviously, the first press that we built, we scrounged, and we built it out of stuff that we had on hand. The second one we built, we went to a local scrap yard. Shout out Joe's Salvage, which doesn't exist anymore. And we made it happen, and then we just iterated over time into the design. So if you're buying a press from us today, you're buying a press that's been iterated over the last 10 years to be the most competent and capable machine that we can possibly design. That has to do with the Gibbs system, the die attachment, etc. And we sell the dies, the tooling, the material, everything that you'll need to be very successful with your pressing endeavors. You see what I did there? Pressing endeavors.
Pretty good.
That was good. That was a indemitable pun. Hydraulic press. So finally, anything else a begin blacksmith might need want. The basics of blacksmithing, as I read them from Anvil Fire as a young 9-year-old boy, you need 3 things. You need to get the material hot. You need to hit the material. You need to hold the material. So you need tongs, you need an anvil, you need a forge. You can do that with a hole in the ground and some wood, with a hair dryer from your beautiful significant other shoved into a hole in the dirt and heating up your steel. So there's a lot of ways that you can go about this, guys. Don't overthink it, and don't spend too much money up front, because you're probably going to spend too much money on a thing that you end up not using. And that would be sad. That would be sad for me. That'd be sad for you. Everybody's sad. So here's where we're going.
Nathan, we're going to take a little break.
We're going to take a break because Evan's bladder is the size of a kidney bean.
That is very accurate.
Oh, is it okay if I cross my arms?
Sure. Why?
Continuity.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so we're going to move on now. We took the internet's question, and now we're going to take your question. This is straight from the audience. Are you ready? Good. I started forging for fun, but now I'm realizing how often these tools come in handy around the property. I'm curious, what surprised you when it came to crossover between shop and homestead? So, if you don't know, I have a homestead. We've got some acreage. We've got an incredibly old house. It is so old. I would say probably my favorite is I forged a 5-pound claw hammer, and it will destroy your shoulder if you try to do anything with it other than just like quick demo stuff. If you tried to frame with it, I think that you would probably need surgery shortly after. But it has been an exquisite tool for knocking things apart, which I do a lot because my house is very old. My barn is so old that when they built it, I don't know if this is true, so fact check me, internet. I think they might have used green timber. I think that they used green timber. It's a lot of big hewn beams, local. I have no idea what the species of wood is. But after they put it together, everything shrunk and got super hard. So my house is about 150, 175 years old. Barn's right there. And we had a visitor shortly after we bought our house. This like 90-year-old woman pulled up. I didn't know her. And she came up to us and said, this might be weird, but I'm in town for my mother's funeral, which is crazy. I mean, that means her mother she was 90. Wow. She said, I used to come here and spend my summers here when I was growing up. Would you let me see your house? I was like, sure. So we walked her through the house, and she commented on how little had changed. which was super cool. But then she sent us some photos, and in the photos was the family. You see the house, you see the barn, all kinds of fun stuff. But anyway, my favorite is definitely my 5-pound claw hammer. But I find all the time less forging per se, way more quick heat and beat. Like, gotta bend this thing that's not supposed to be bent, straighten this thing. A lot of bandsaw. You got to trim this little doodad. Got to weld this on that thingy. I would say the most useful tool is an angle grinder and a welder, and that's true for blacksmithing and maintaining your homestead. Is just being able to weld hinges and stuff back together. I've never had a new house. Maybe you don't have to do that on your new houses as much. But on these old farmhouses, man, you're constantly fixing old broken haberdashery. So we're going to wrap this up. We're going to bring this to an end. I'd like to cover one more thing. Evan wrote on here, this is off topic, but wrap up with this. What is the most questionable thing you've ever done with blacksmithing on the farm? Confess your it ain't pretty, but it works. And this, my friends, is what I would like you to also participate with. I want you to either hashtag Cole. What's the hashtag, Evan? How do they
Coal Ironworks?
Just tag us. Just tag us.
Tagging is best.
Does anyone hashtag? Is hashtaggery done?
Hashtaggery might be done.
Hashtaggery diggery doc. The mouse ran up the clock. Actually, the squirrel ran up the clock in my kitchen this morning. He was there, bewildered by my size. Okay, so the biggest thing, and I want you to tag us in your. If you got a picture of it, take a picture of it. Show us the picture. Show us the video. If you have some live leak video of yourself, please post it. Hashtag us. No, tag us. The hash has been eaten. So the sketchiest thing. I've done some sketchy things in my days. One time, I needed to build a shop addition, but I didn't have money for a permit. So what I did was I took my Sawzalls and I cut a wall, the whole wall, off the shop. So it was like this. And I had some room over here. I'm checking the camera to make sure that this is tracking. So I cut this wall loose and I rotated the wall so that it looked like from the street nothing had changed. And then I just built behind that. That was pretty sketchy, and I'm so sorry. But it's been torn down now, and they made a McMansion with a big. There's a big McMansion there now. I was at an auction, and I really needed a pair of forks for my tractor, but the quick attach forks for a loader tractor are ridiculously expensive, new or at the auction. But in the back 40 of the auction was the we don't know where this came from pile. And in the we don't know where this came from pile was a pair of forks. And I thought to myself, I could probably fabricate a quick attach on that we don't know where this came from set of forks. What I didn't realize, because I was bidding on this pair of forks on the internet, was that the forks were off of a 48,000-pound wheel loader. So I got the forks for $75. I felt elated. Oh, this is going to be great. I went to pick up the forks. They took up my entire truck bed and made the springs of my truck go, oh. So I got them home. I fabricated a quick attach, and I thought to myself, well, surely this won't be too heavy for my tractor. The first time that I picked the forks up with my tractor, just the forks, the back end of my tractor came off the ground. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, was that if I ever tried to use the forks, anything that I put on the forks, the tractor was already overloaded with just the forks. But I had fork things to do. So I would pick up a hay bale, and what I found was if I picked up the round bale with the forks, and I brought the forks all the way back, it would funky load the tractor just enough that I could drive it and then drop it in its intended spot. So that was pretty sketchy. I would say rigging things on the farm, being a blacksmith with a ample and overwhelming, indomitable, some might say, thirst for antique equipment that sometimes works. I would often be transporting oversized goods to Mikasa and then unloading them with either a tractor that didn't run. So what you do is you use the starter to run the pump to lift the loader up, and then you back your truck under that, and then you use the starter to lift the object, and then you drive the truck out from underneath it. That's a hot tip for anyone that is also using broken things to move broken things. And then you just use the gravity feed drops it down to the ground, and then you can use a pallet jack or rollers. Bob's your chunkle on that one. So that's my stories to wrap up our beautiful solo episode of the Coolcast. Now, before we end, as you're sitting here listening to this, looking through the videos on your phone for that one time that you did that thing that you need to post on Instagram and tag at Coal Ironworks to be included in this spectacular event. Maybe it's a giveaway. Who knows? No one's going to know. I don't know. Then while you're doing that, Producer Evan.
Yes.
What else do the people need to know immediately? What do we need to? We're going to wrap this up on a high note. What is our takeaway? Is there a class? Is there a spectacular gathering of minds? What else do we need to know before we close the door on this conversation?
I think we covered it all.
Is it all been covered?
Yeah.
Has it been tied in a bow?
Yeah.
Can you throw it over your shoulder like a continental soldier?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, friends, loved ones, this is Nathan Brandt with Coal Ironworks on the Coalcast, signing out. Good night. That was lit. It was too legit to quit. But I'm unlegit. What is it? Do you remember the quote? I thought I was too legit to quit, but I found out I'm unlegit, and therefore I must quit. Can you pull it up? Can we steal other people's IP?
Yeah. I only found the first part.
Okay.
The too legit to quit. I don't know.
But I found out over time I am unlegit. Oh, it's not going to play through.
I was too legit to quit. But now, I'm not legit.
Not legit.
I'm unlegit.
See?
And for that reason, I must quit.
What kind of cat are you?
What kind of cat hangs out in your...
Playback pause. Because you're stealing our intellectual properties.
Bummer.
Cool. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
You should let me talk to myself more often.
I think I will.
It's not my cup. I stole it.
Whose cup is it? I thought Francis gave you that.
Nope. Compassion bought this cup for Andy for Christmas, like a lot of years ago, and I was genuinely hurt. And so after he got sick, he gave it to me. So this is my other cup. This is my I love I love Trains cup. Greg calls it my grilled cheese cup. I don't know. You figured that out yourself. But I do love trains, and this is from the Heston Steam Museum in northern Indiana, which is awesome. And they have a massive steam hammer rotting outside that they're just waiting to get fixed and hooked up to a real boiler. So if you like steam, if you make grilled cheese at night and you want to go play on trains like I do, Heston Steam Museum in northern Indiana.